What we really want through the Eat Right initiative is to promote safe food, healthy food, and food which is also good for the planet, so it's sustainable. Once an employee has that choice, they tend to gravitate towards making healthier choices over a period of time.
Today we have with us Ms. Inoshi Sharma, Director FSSAI for Social Behavior Change and Communication. Ms. Sharma is a civil servant and an officer of the Indian Revenue Service. She has worked prior as a director of the National Health Mission in Haryana, looking after the procurement of drugs and equipment, adolescent health, medical screening of children up to the age of 19, and programs pertaining to menstrual hygiene and weekly iron folic supplementation. Her current assignment as the director of FSSAI involves social behavioral change and communication and extending support to scaling up of fortification across the country. She has an interest in the area of public policy, administration, and the social sector. Ms. Sharma, it's lovely to have you on the platform today.
Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, just to begin with, we would like to understand a little bit about your background and how you began your engagement with FSSAI.
Okay, so you've actually given my introduction. So I'm a civil servant. I belong to the Indian Revenue Service,
Right.
and in 2019 I joined FSSAI on deputation, and I was assigned the division which is social behavioral change along with food fortification. So I've been associated with these two divisions. Prior to this, from 2012 to 2016, I was also part of the National Health Mission in Haryana, where I was looking after a number of programs related to child health, adolescent health, procurement, administration, where I actually came in very close contact with many of the social and health issues that people face. And one thing I realized is that as civil servants, we've got a lot of opportunity to bring about change in the way people think about, say, food or their own health. A lot of times people just are not aware. It's not deliberate, it's just lack of awareness.
Right.
And this information is something which can easily be provided. You don't have to have very expensive communication tools, but even if there is just a gatekeeper in society whom you can identify and they just spread the information about basic food safety, hygiene, having a balanced, nutritious diet, that itself brings about a long term change in the entire family's health profile. And
Right.
in term, of course, it helps in the economic status of the family also if they are not falling ill.
Right. That's very important, ma'am, and that is something that we will flesh out a bit later in the interview. But just to begin with, I want to understand from you how a large body such as FSSAI is contributing to the pillars of the Poshan Abhiyan.
Mhm. So actually, FSSAI through its Eat Right movement is contributing to the Poshan Abhiyan, because this flagship program of the PMO is primarily concerned with intersectoral convergence. And the Eat Right initiative of FSSAI believes in that. So what we really want through the Eat Right initiative is to promote safe food, healthy food, and food which is also good for the planet, so it's sustainable. And for this, we are working not just with the ministries and the departments, but also with the food industry, the academia, consumer organizations, development agencies, so that we can bring about mass consumer awareness, as well as on the supply side, make sure that our food businesses are also reformulating products which are in the long term healthy for citizens.
Right.
Now, in the Poshan Abhiyan, the entire focus usually is on women and children. So we have under the Eat Healthy pillar 1,000 days, for which we've created, short TVCs. We've created vast social media information, which in the month of September, besides throughout the year, we try to intensify the messaging which is going out to the people. We've also created an Eat Right toolkit, which
Right.
is a small toolkit developed for the frontline workers like the Anganwadi workers or the ANMs and the ASHA workers,
Hmm.
so that they can, through this toolkit, spread the message of healthy, nutritious food, not just to be taken by pregnant lactating women, but also by adolescent children, by the whole family, in fact, and how these nutritious foods are so easily and locally available. So very expensive fruits and vegetables need not be eaten. So this is our concern.
Right.
Also, with Poshan Abhiyan, the entire focus is on Jan Andolan. How do you bring about a silent social revolution in the country whereby people are no longer anemic, whereby, our children and our women's health is guaranteed and secured. So for this, we have in the past, in 2018, carried out the Swasth Bharat Yatra, which was a very, very successful cyclothon reaching out to almost 20 million people. There were 6 track routes across the country covering a number of cities, and the messages about nutritious, healthy, local, seasonal diet was laid emphasis on. This year, we are planning to carry out in August 2021, if everything's okay, a walkathon.
Right.
Again, pan India with the messaging on nutrition and on basic health.
Right.
So these are some of the things that we've been doing.
Right, ma'am. And when you talk about eating healthy, food fortification is a very important, policy level intervention that has a more sustainable and durable impact. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you've capitalized on food fortification and what is in the pipeline for the future?
So, FSSAI has adopted food fortification as as a strategy to address micronutrient malnutrition. In fact, we're the nodal agency for the government, for WCD, for education, for DOFPD, for health, wherein we are providing all the basic technical information related to fortification. So FSSAI has already created standards for 5 staples: wheat flour, rice, oil, milk, and salt. And recently we also came out for standards for processed food as well as species food. What we are now trying to do next is to scale up the availability of fortified food in the open market, as well as ensuring that it comes out in the various government safety net programs, for instance, the MDM, the ICDS, as well as the PDS. So we are very closely working with DOFPD in scaling up the rice fortification across the country. We are also going to very shortly come out with regulations for the mandatory fortification of oil and milk.
Right.
We've also created the Plus F logo, which on all fortified staples can easily be seen by the consumer, so that they become more and more aware which staples are fortified, which brands in the market are available which are fortified. So for this, we are also encouraging the food business operators to come out with their own brands which are fortified, so that they can put the Plus F logo. And basically, with fortification, what happens is, without really realizing or putting in much of effort from the daily food that you are eating,
Right.
you are actually doing away with any kind of micronutrient deficiencies that you have. So in the long run, it actually helps you in remaining healthy, and therefore the country, for the exchequer also, there's a saving, because you are not that much spending on diseases or any kind of other health related issues because of micronutrient deficiencies.
Right.
So at present, we've got about 19 states and 5 union territories with over 150 brands of fortified products which are available in the open market. We are also trying to scale up the availability of double fortified salt. So
Right.
that is something which is not currently available in the open market or in many of the states. Just a few states are providing double fortified salt. But double fortified salt is now a very simple way in which, because it's double fortified, it's fortified with iodine, which is mandatory, of course, and then with iron. So if you are having a DFS salt, you just will never have iron deficiency, because over a period of time, it just compensates for it. So this is something that we are working on.
Right. I think, ma'am, food fortification is a very ingenious solution, because the one thing is that it can be implemented at such a large scale and at once. And also the other thing is, we suffer from this hidden hunger of micronutrients, and it's a global challenge, frankly, to how we can, capitalize on this. And I think fortification, as you mentioned rightly, is the way forward in dealing with evils like anemia. Now let's touch upon, a little bit on social behavior change and communication, which happens to be your area of expertise. So tell us a little bit about what are some essential facets when one embarks on this journey of creating this positive behavioral change towards nutrition. Through your experience and your work with FSSAI, what have you seen to be key ingredients of effective messaging?
So, for FSSAI, the Eat Right initiative again was something which gradually evolved over a period of almost 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Initially, the entire concern was of how to ensure food safety and hygiene is maintained, because this is like the most basic thing.
Mm.
Even if you are having healthy, nutritious food, but the food that you are having is prepared in an unhygienic condition, or you are suffering from a foodborne illness, you will never get the benefits of that kind of food. So the first priority we thought we really need to focus is how we can make sure foodborne illness does not happen. So this Eat Right India initiative therefore gradually evolved.
Right.
And while it was evolving, what we realized was that we as a body cannot achieve such a gigantic mission. We need to work with other departments and ministries. So
Right.
we adopted a whole of government approach. What we do is have interactions with other line ministries and departments. How can they also merge the messages of Eat Right into their programs? So
Right.
with this constant engagement, dialogues that you are having, no ministry really needs to change what they are doing.
Mm.
Just a little bit of tweaking here and there of messaging, and you are almost aligned with the same program, with the same message to the consumers. So
Right.
that's one thing. Second, what we realized was a policy by itself is not an end. You have to make sure it gets implemented. So, how do you do that? You have the whole of society approach, where you are trying to keep the citizen as a center point, but you are engaging with a lot of stakeholders like development partners, the academia. So in the academia, you've got nutritionists, you've got doctors, you've got dietitians, the chefs, you've got public health experts, you've got chemists, food analysts, all these people. Then you've got development agencies, then you've got consumer organizations, auditors, training partners. There are a host of stakeholders. Again, you get in touch with them. They are the organizations or the bodies which have been working on the ground. They know what the pulse of the people is. What is it that people really want? So if you have a constant dialogue with them, it saves on a lot of effort on your part to find out how much have the consumers been able to get, what you're trying to tell them. Has there been a behavioral change in them? So
Right.
this is a constant engagement that we are trying to achieve through the Eat Right India initiative.
I think that's a wonderful initiative, especially the fact that it's happening at such a policy level and has multi stakeholder engagement, which is one of the most fundamental asks of the Poshan Abhiyan, and also an ethos that we support at Impact for Nutrition. Now that we've spoken, at length about nutrition at home, and how FSSAI is, working to ensure that all homes are aware of health and nutrition standards, let's shift gears and talk about nutrition at the workplace, because we spend almost one third of our time in our workplaces. So, how is FSSAI supporting the private sector in making nutrition a workplace priority, and how can companies especially focus on employee wellness and healthy diets to create an entire ecosystem of Eat Right within their organization?
So like I was mentioning, when we talk about the Eat Right initiative on the demand side, I, as an employee of an organization, if I'm getting food from home, it's
Mm.
fine. That's completely up to me. But if I'm not, and my organization is providing me with meals, many times I will not have a choice in terms of what I can have, because I have to make a choice out of the food which is being provided to me. Now, if the food which is being provided, it has rich gravies, or like in traditionally in India, we have a very rich tadka, spices, and I end up with an upset stomach, or the food's not prepared in a hygienic condition, I end up with a foodborne illness. Then that in turn affects the employee's performance. That many leaves are taken, you lose out on that many manners, you lose out on that many productivity and all. This is something that we try to tell campuses. Now, campuses are not just big corporate houses. A
Mm.
campus is any place where people are coming and spending a fundamental part of their day and having some sort of a meal. So it could also be a hospital, it could be a jail, it could be large tea estates. It could also be a very small place like an Anganwadi.
Right.
So in a campus, it is not just about food. It is also now what is the ambience that you create. So I can give you a beautiful example of Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, which is at Missouri, which is the apex body which trains the civil servants who are selected every year.
Right.
Now, I remember when I went there in 2002, as a personal experience I can share with you, we used to get tea or coffee, which had loads of sugar and usually a deep fried snack.
Right.
But a lot of us, initially you're very excited. You've just probably, come from college, you've cleared an exam, you're coming, you're hungry, you're climbing up and down the stairs, the hills and all. So you have it. But after like a few weeks, you do realize that it is taking a toll on your body. And a lot of us stopped having that. A lot of it would go waste and then they just stopped making it.
Right.
But now with the Eat Right Campus initiative, almost 2 years back, the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy also became an Eat Right campus. And there was an amazing shift because one, all these snacks were done away with, and now they have cut fruits, they've got bhuna chana, they've got roasted, snack options, they've got tea or coffee without sugar. So I determine how much sugar I can put.
Right.
Chach, and sometimes it's green tea, it's even coconut water. I mean, people are just given choice. It's not restrictive anymore. And I have a choice in terms of the sugar that I'm going to put. I have a choice in terms of which beverage I want. So it's always a matter of choice which the academy is providing. So once an employee has that choice, they tend to gravitate towards making healthier choices over a period of time. So this is something that I would really, urge the private sector bodies which are associated with you to come forward and become Eat Right campuses.
That's a wonderful model that you've just told us, especially the one about it being a campus, because when you say business or corporate, it becomes you zero in on just that stakeholder group, but you're looking at hospital, jails, etc. And I think that is a wonderful term to use. And like you mentioned, that it's simple actionable strategies, and you already have such a rich resource available on your website, different booklets that corporates can have a look at to understand how they can be a part of this. I think I would urge all the private sector players who are watching this interview to navigate to the FSSAI website and to the Eat Right section and understand the different resources that are already available for their use. Right. And I'm talking about FSSAI's engagement with I4N and being one of Impact for Nutrition's initiative partners. How do you see our continual engagement with you going forward, and what would you say to private sector companies who are wanting to pledge with Impact for Nutrition?
So I4N provides, like the platform to connect with the industry for us, both directly and, like I said, by leveraging the corporate social responsibility funds, the CSR funds. What I also see is that, corporates can also provide us with expertise. Like I was saying, that for any initiative to grow and to carry forward, you always need a feedback. So corporates are always free, to reach out to us in terms of some beautiful experiment they did in their campus, which they would like to share with us. Or if they are reformulating a product, or they've adopted a certain program, which they were very successful in, and how they managed to do that. If they can share that with us, it would be wonderful. Right. Private sector companies wanting to partner with I4N can adopt Eat Right initiatives and provide resources and funding to other corporates which are, like I said, do not have so much of funding. But what I really see this as a platform is this two-way engagement that we can have. It's like I said, it's not just for us to create policies.
Right.
It's not like Eat Right campus was formulated in this office one fine day. It's always through dialogues. It's always through feedback. It's always through engagements. And that's exactly what we want.
That's wonderful, ma'am. And I think, like you rightly mentioned, it all comes down to collaboration and convergence, which is, the heart of the Poshan Abhiyan and what both FSSAI and Impact for Nutrition are continually working towards. So this brings us to the end of our interview, ma'am. Thank you so much for being a part of this. It was great to hear all the wonderful programs that FSSAI is piloting, and it's been wonderful to hear all the best practices that you have already implemented and that the private sector can learn from and adopt. And we definitely look forward to having you on the platform again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.